Ben Shapiro has made a habit of embarrassing himself on Twitter. It's one of my favorite things. So there was a tweet by Sam Raskin, is the guy's name, and he's talking about the New York City mayor's race. And so all the candidates were posed a question, what would you ban? Wiley said sugary drinks. Donovan said deserts, neighborhoods with no parks. Morales said ban bodegas without fresh fruits. Andrew Yang said ATVs. Adams says schools not having farms, gardens on top of rooftops. Garcia said corn syrup. Stringer said school lunch junk food. McGuire said healthcare deserts. So those are the answers of the candidates. Now, I actually don't think most of those answers are good. I think they definitely could have came up with better answers, but to be fair, if they're on the spot, it is a little tough because that's a weird question. Well, Ben Shapiro, the towering intellectual of the right, responded and said, notably, nobody said crime. The question is, what would you ban? And the response was, nobody said crime. How did you type that out and hit send, and at no point did you stop and go, this is really fucking stupid, I shouldn't say this? We all know what it stems from, guys. Here's what it stems from. He's a partisan hack. And in his worldview, Republicans good, Democrats bad. And so this is the Democratic race. And so he's like, fuck stupid Democrats. Did you guys know Democrats are pro-crime? That's what they are. They're in favor of crime. They're against law and order. Which, by the way, is hilariously ironic because Ben Shapiro is one of the biggest neocons out there. And the neocons, the defining characteristic of that ideology is they do not believe in law and order internationally. They think the U.S. can be the biggest goon, thug, criminal gangster on the world stage, and it's okay, and it should be like that. They don't believe in the Geneva Conventions and the Nuremberg Tribunal and the International Criminal Court. They don't believe in any of that stuff. They don't think we have to follow any international laws. They're deeply against law and order. But here he is. Democrats are pro-crime. They're against law and order. Nobody said ban crime. I guess they're in favor of legalizing crime. Crime is already banned. Dippy? I said it before, I'll say it again. Just because homeboy talks fast doesn't mean he's intelligent. In the same way that when it came to Bill O'Reilly, just because he yelled at his guest doesn't mean he's correct. And it's amazing to me that this stuff works on anybody, man. It really is. For anybody who's a hardcore Ben Shapiro fan out there, I beg of you, it's not too late to turn your brain on. You want to outsource your thoughts and your political ideology to this guy? And by the way, this isn't a one-off. This has happened a number of times where he says things that make people go, how did you just fucking say that and not realize what you were saying is stupid? So, for example, remember when he was given a speech, this was a long time ago to be fair, but he was given a speech on something, and he brought up climate change. And he said, well, when sea levels rise, people can just sell their waterfront homes. So when sea levels rise, we don't need a broader solution at the federal government level to address climate change, because when sea levels rise, people can just sell their homes. As another lefty commentator said in a hilarious way, sell it to who, Ben? Aquaman? The guy's unbelievable. He also famously said the only reason you should engage with the left is to, quote, humiliate them as badly as possible. This is a guy who claims to believe in the marketplace of ideas and open discourse and dialogue. He pretends to be a beacon of reason and rationality and logic. And he said the only reason you should engage with the left is to humiliate them as badly as possible. That's the opposite of what he pretends to be about. That's sheer partisan hackery and playing for a team and being a tribal goon. That's all that is. One of my favorites of his is he compared free healthcare to free furniture. Bernie Sanders had a tweet something to the effect of, I'm paraphrasing here, people in this country, they have a problem, they go to the doctor, they get help or they get surgery or whatever it is, and they can't afford it. How crazy is that? And his response was, wow, I go to buy a piece of furniture and I can't afford it. How crazy is that? Comparing healthcare to furniture. He also compared repeatedly doctors under single-payer systems to slaves, as if like every developed country in the world, Australia, Denmark, Norway, Iceland, Finland, Canada, the UK, you name it, all of them, to one extent or another, have doctors who are slaves. So in other words, according to Ben Shapiro, it's not just a funding issue. Hey, how are we going to fund our healthcare system? Are we going to do it out of pocket? Are we going to fund it in a private way? Are we going to have for-profit corporations being involved in the insurance system? Or is it going to be a single payer, so namely the government is the single insurer? Are they going to be paid via tax dollars, or are they going to be paid out of pocket from individuals? He looks at that and he says, one of those systems is slavery, and the other one is freedom or something. Imagine looking at our healthcare system and thinking it's freedom. Imagine that. Imagine that. Medical bills are one of the top causes of bankruptcy. Up to 60,000 people die every year because they don't have basic health care. Tens of millions of people are uninsured. There's price gouging on top of price gouging on top of price gouging. The for-profit health insurance companies are a mafia gangster middleman that just get in between you and your doctor and tell you what you can and can't do and tell you that doctor's out of network. You can't even go to them. He looks at that and says, freedom. It's freedom. Doctors under single-payer systems are slaves. This is who Ben Shapiro is. In my expert opinion, I think we should ban crime. That's what I think. Oh, do you? Do you, you fucking genius? You're so brilliant. You're so smart. This is the towering intellectual of the right. The guy whose famous phrase is, facts don't care about your feelings. As if he puts facts first. As if he doesn't thoroughly embarrass himself on a regular basis. I mean, come on, dude. Come on. It's nice to know none of the New York City mayor candidates on the Democratic side, none of them are in favor of crime being banned. Thank you, Ben. Thank you. I'm sure that's a totally accurate representation of their beliefs. That sure was a sick burn you got. See, this is what happens when really your whole ideology is trigger the libs. When that's your whole ideology, you're vapid, you're empty, you're useless. And so you end up doing stuff like this. And if there's some people out there who eat it up, again, I plead with you, at some point you'll grow out of it, I think everybody goes through weird phases politically in their life where you're into one weird thing or another weird thing, or you dabble in this or that. And I'm not above it. I'm just like everybody else. There are times I've dabbled in embarrassing things, whether it's a dash of like Ayn Rand libertarianism, whether it's, this 9/11 documentary about 9/11 truth sure seems kind of convincing. We've all had moments. But you'll get out of it. You'll grow. You'll get out of it. And I really believe that most people who are Shapiro stans eventually will be like, yeah, whatever thing it might be, thing X, Y, or Z. That seemed kind of silly of Ben to say. Perhaps he's not this towering intellectual giant. And there's a history of this stuff on the right, whether it's like William F. Buckley, for example. There's a number of like so-called intellectuals on the right who just ultimately, they're not even close to that. They're not even close. And that's not to say the left is perfect. That's not to say that, there are no examples of embarrassing folks on that side, but it is to say this shouldn't be convincing to you, because it is kind of sad. Imagine being one of the people who hit like or retweet unironically on this Ben Shapiro tweet. Imagine that. Imagine reading it and think, ha! Ben got him! Yes! Democrats love crime! Democrats love crime! It's really easy to make yourself feel like you're a genius and you're adding substance to the conversation when all you do 24/7 is strawman the opposition. You make this like hilarious cartoon villain caricature out of the other side, and then you beat that straw man all day, and you think, I'm great at politics. or you're just silly. Or you're just silly. No more straw man, please. You know, the opposite of the straw man is the steel man. Try steel manning your opponent's arguments and then trying to break them down. And I'll tell you what, that's a lot more fun and a lot more engaging. And people will watch that and they'll be interested. Put the best foot forward of your opposition and try to break it down, because then you're getting somewhere. And by the way, then you grow as a person, because every now and then you might be like, hey, they have a point on this thing. You know what I mean? So, I just want people to engage more honestly. This clearly is like he's just trying to score some cheap political points. Nobody said ban crime. Crime is already illegal. And is it really your contention that they're like pro-crime or somewhat pro-crime? I'm sure he's going to give us many more moments like this as well. Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.